Galleries and exhibitions are spaces and places that enable us to encounter art. Opening nights are seamless and at times magic. But how does this happen? Step back from opening night and experience the creative process of art in reverse.
I'm always hoping that the gallery context will even enhance work more, but that's what I'm sort of, there are quite often nice surprises.
Marion is a Sydney-based artist, often described as a painter. Yet her work over the past 10 years has involved the sculptural, the miniature to the astronomical.
What I want to achieve with this exhibition is to have a sense of light and to have a sense of how light bounces around and creates your sense of space. This will be quite a change from previous exhibitions. Previous exhibitions have been about red and black as a very emotional, thematic palette. And this one is pared back as well, perhaps even more pared back. I planned it to do such and such a thing in a particular space.
Well, you've got to take us around first.
Okay.
This is your show, so you tell us.
The books are like, to me, they're like vessels. They carry the meaning. They carry the hidden language. Imagine that we're sifting through another time and finding something that we don't really know what it was about. This is more like a musical score here, and that's sort of like a clef. The books themselves are just really flea market books, valuable books. I found it too sacrilegious to cut into them. I just couldn't do it. Very minimal sculptural pieces where I play with the back of the work, and I started to use another plane. Doesn't reflect shadow in the black, so you don't know where it is in there. I know that Anish Kapoor has used this too, not in this way, but you can't sort of see that or estimate that depth. It mixes sort of cell, sometimes eye, sometimes botanical. It just mixes that together to find a very unique, very individual image. And what do the lunar walk? Right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking there's quite a bit of it.
This show will have taken all up around about a year. It's all about deadlines, but multitasking and organisation of time is probably the most critical aspect of running a workshop or a studio like this. And you might think that that is kind of incongruous to the nature of creating, but creativity happens in another part of the brain, for me. Once the concept is in place, it's like working in backwards, step by step, to get the right dimensions so that it's going to work out exactly how you envisage it. Flip them. So the intensity of the colour is high when you walk in, and it becomes pale when you approach it from the other direction. First works I conceived of were just simple circular pieces, and that gave me the sense of the light that they transmitted that I wanted to work with. And step by step they've become more complex. That looks really good to me. Sort of where the tip of your nose touches the wall. Yeah. Stand up on that, Don, and let's see. Anyway, I think that's good if we leave it as it is. If we move it, that is not good.
Can be quite challenging, frustrating. You know she's got this idea she wants to get out, and you want to get it out for her, and sometimes it can prove to be a real challenge. Sometimes things just all fall together and it's a breeze. I found that we really got on well together, and there's this support. And the interesting parts about her work is sort of based on what I like to do. Is I like to be involved in creativity of my own as well as helping other people, and we seem to work out this communication where we could help each other out.
They're beautiful, Don, and we need to straighten a couple of them. Yeah. They look smaller here than they do in the studio. Isn't that true? It reflects all the other colours in a room. Yeah, actually, could you do that? Yep, I've got the pen. It's legible, isn't it? Yeah. I'm interested in natural phenomenological things such as light and such as lunar orbits and sequences, solar system phenomena, galactic kind of forces. These are the big things. I'm also interested in the microcosm too. I think it's sort of natural phenomena that really interests me, and how you kind of work with that. I can work with that within the sculptural mode, within painting, within installation, but it's also the essence of materials, how materials speak to you. The others are very high, but I like it. But do you think it's sensible? Yeah. Oh, good, okay.
I think it's great. It's really beautiful.
What I use to describe these pieces is that they have an ever-changing nature. They're really only still as far as you're still. And for every kind of degree of movement you affect or you change, the image in front of you changes. So this is a different process, completely. This is a process where if I make a mistake or if I do something I don't like, I can just go over it. It's so much more relaxing. But because these are on wax, on beeswax, and they've got an image underneath the beeswax that I don't want to lose, I just want to work really, really with the lightest of touch. This is more associated with work that I've done from previous years, that this is a kind of link, this work, to link with the other series I was just working on. But what these are about are little symbols that are kind of language and nature-based symbols. And the others are about iconic shapes. But these symbols in them also have sort of iconic basic shapes to them. The circle, the oval, the nautilus. So they're really fundamental shapes too. Fundamental things about language and symbolism. You know, there's quite a cerebral aspect to my work, rather than being emotional. So what I have happening right now is the show that's going to be mounted in a week, and I'm nearly together about it. I've got a few things to finish, and I'm sure I'm going to be really burning the midnight oil. But I'm also working on finishing the JP Morgan Chase. It's quite full on in relation to time management and organisation. And I'm not only organising myself, I'm organising teams of other people. think what happens is that when an artist takes on a commission that might be of a bigger scale or more unusual in its nature, and they have to work with industry, it seems to be inevitable that there isn't the industrial process set up or already in place to be able to deliver to the artist that which they're seeking. So consequently, it's a learning process. It does set new benchmarks for everyone. That's happening all the time with artists and various manufacturers. What materials you choose to use for a particular site or a particular project and the materials chosen determine how you'll approach the end result. And it will have very harsh light on it in the morning, and then the light disappears as the sun goes over the west. The pieces to sit in this balcony to be highly radiant, and they will reflect light onto the windows and the glass. From the foyer you can see everything. A lot of high-rise, ugly buildings, but that's what makes a CBD. It's the lunar phases of half a month, 16 motions from full moon to new moon. Artists have to think off the beaten track. They have to think in ways that aren't mainstream and run-of-the-mill. Hoping that people can pick up the immediacy of the work, which will be its emotional presence, some of it having big emblematic shapes, and the refined finish of the work. They're extreme. So I hope they can pull those kind of contradictory relationship together to understand what I've always been working on, and that is the raw and the refined. It's called also la cuit and la crue, which is cooked and raw. And the worst thing with this is that it's totally demanding. You can't make a mistake with the cutting. If you make a mistake with the cutting, because it's all out of one piece, but this will be, in its large scale, will be a triptych. But even still, one piece, mistake with one of the cuts, you can't repair it. It's very unforgiving. This is a maquette process. This is doing it on a small scale to see how it's going to work when it's larger. I mean, they're so much more demanding than this, and they have to be, the calculations of cuts per square meterage have to be correct. The thicker cuts do different things than thinner cuts. The length of a cut in relation to its thickness will determine the outcome. So I just have to know how it's going to work. You can build on them, you can sort of develop them. And this is where I explore movement and light and shadow. They're demanding. I have to be really focused. Doing the cutting and then doing the designing, there's sort of resistance in me, because that is the hard work. It's different from painting and each day watching it grow and being able to change it as you go along. You can't really change these once you've decided on their particular image. So they have to be then executed sort of perfectly. Once I've done the maquette, I will order the chassis and the frame for the big one, and that has to be ordered to measure. There's quite a lot of time. It will take roughly a month to complete a large piece. And the canvas has to be prepared much more than normal canvas, because these ribbons or slices will have to withstand temperature change, which means there are various glue processes to treat the canvas with so that it doesn't stretch or shrink. Just making sure all the bands are equidistant from each other and that the evenness of the optics is working.
Hello, you made it.
Hi Don, how's it going?
Slowly, but I'm getting there.
Good.
Yeah. Discuss an idea that she's got in her head, and I say, all right, then I'll have a go and I'll try and make something at home and see if it works. And then I bring the little sample back and we discuss and move on. You know, all right, then, yeah, I can do this, I can't do this. Most of the time my determination in my own self makes me want to do it anyway and have a go at it.
We're doing now the back pieces, the shadows, right?
Setting up the machine to cut the circles out. I'm going to have
And as I mentioned, I think we should arras or chamfer the edges so that the edges disappear and it becomes... Do you think that's a good idea? Or do you think that if they turn 90 degrees, it's better?
I think it will soften what you're trying to achieve with the shadow. Well, I'll cut the main circle out.
Well, we've got circles here. We can sit those under the pieces upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah. Some glasses of water.
And so I just picked up some paper, and I think Don was in the studio at that time, and bent it, and then I painted it and pinned it to the wall, and it grew from there. I could see those in a bigger sequential form. And what we have here is 16.
It finishes up with 18, but it's actually
It's 18, and I really, really like that aspect of it, where there is some sense of body to the form. So it's not just about form, it has body and it has weight as well. So they become very sculptural and very object-like, and that was important in this series. And Don's achieved that through an extraordinary crafting system. This is really about understanding timber. These won't even look like timber when they're finished. Everybody asks what they are, you know. They look like they've probably sort of come out of a plastic mould.
Yeah, this is the first one. It was made in the same mould as this one, but when I took it out too early and been in the garage, it's gone...
It's still, yeah.
That's a natural curve.
Or actually, though, we can't really see them fully like this because we need to see, that's right, they're shadow bases. We've got gloss on bigger ones, and this doesn't want to be gloss. This has to be blackboard paint.
When I actually sand it to take the sheen off, I'll do it with a stroke.
I quite like that brushed finish, so that it disappears. Now, we've got 3 days for that. And you can take this to my studio and work there.
Yeah. Right. Okay, I'll see what I can do. Should come out exactly how you want them.
Well, I think they're beautifully crafted. And a cryptologist's memoir is about archaeologists coming to this site in thousands of years' time, hundreds of years' time, let's say. Maybe, you know, it sort of doesn't exist. And they're discovering artworks, they're discovering language, they're discovering things that we're doing on the computer now. But it's also historic, that it doesn't have any meaning anymore, but they have to kind of unravel the meaning. They have to sort of search through and lock things, key things in place and find what we were thinking now in 500 years' time. So the books are about that. The seed idea came when I was working with layers of paper and I was creating sculptural forms with layers of paper. I started cutting it then, but I was cutting the outer form and peeling them over to reveal the red of the underside, and I was creating images in that way. It seemed to me that books were like vessels, and they held secrets inside them that could only be deciphered when you read them. And so they were vessels, carry meaning, and there are vessels that have meaning and are of meaning. To me, they were also, at that point, they began to suggest, could be used as the basis for an artwork. Inside of them, I could trap a new layer of meaning, a new language that I was creating, that I want to create. There's little motifs that have to resonate in a very succinct way as being kind of a letter, but it's not a letter. And it will, in some cases, relate to the book, because the symbol has to just resonate in the way that has a simplicity to it, and yet it also is complete. When I do the waxing, I can re-sculpt this internal shape and get some depth in there, so I can create sort of gutters. So that's got to be a balance between beautiful books that aren't valuable, interesting books, and nothing too historically significant. It's the textbook for botany, edition for India, Pakistan and Ceylon. Isn't that interesting? I couldn't possibly cut these up. Oh, they're just beautiful. They're very damaged. No, it's too new, too fresh. No feeling of history, even though it's about history. What about this one? The scallop used in art and architecture. This is pretty interesting. Views of Attica, Greek history. Kind of cheap old paper that yellowed. And it's got cloth bound, the right category. I've really always wanted to be an artist. Since very young. I mean, I started kind of making my own clothes and creating and cutting, just even as a little girl. It's just the most interesting thing to do is to work with materials, to develop a kind of an idea and to be able to manifest it. Manifesting your ideas is the most exciting thing, seeing them become real and seeing them take shape, take form, and then seeing them in situ, in various sites, whether it be a public space or a gallery.